What's up guys, my name is Ace, and after a very long wait, it is finally launch day for XDefiant. In fact, by the time you guys see this video, the servers should be live. And yesterday, we did get a little blog post from XDefiant just explaining a bunch of the changes that they made from the previous session to launch. And that's what we're going to be going over today, keeping in mind that at the time of recording this video, the servers aren't live yet, so I haven't actually seen all of this in action. I just wanted to make sure I'm passing along the information as far as what changed, and this also frees me up to dive right into the game right away and not have to worry about making a video literally the moment the servers go live. So let's dive right in, and we're going to start this off with the Echelon faction. In the previous test, they removed the Echelon faction completely because they had a bug with that was allowing those players to turn invisible. And not in the intended way by using that digital ghillie suit ability, but they were actually going invisible and this was a bug. According to their notes, this has been resolved for launch, so obviously good news there. Although the bad news, at least in my eyes, is their spider bot ability is back for launch. And that's that thing you guys might remember if you guys played the playtest from last year. This is that little spider bot you throw on the ground and it will run around, seek out an enemy player, and it will jump up and hug their face. And during that process, you can't really see much, you're stunned, and you're basically a free kill for them. And these things are just so annoying to run into. I was actually so relieved in the last playtest to never have to deal with these, but there is at least some counterplay to this. All you really have to do is either shoot it before it gets to you, which I found to be very difficult back in those earlier betas. So the second option you have is try to melee it as it's in the air coming toward you, and that will be able to counter this. Additionally, if you see one of these go for one of your teammates, you can shoot it off of your teammate's face. So make sure you're being a team player if you see that happen. As for the next bug that they mentioned they got on top of for launch, this is a bug with grenades where immediately after respawning, if you try to throw a grenade, it would just fall to your feet. You wouldn't actually throw it, it would just fall directly below you. With this, they mentioned that this can still happen, so they haven't 100% fixed this bug, but they did mention it should be less likely to occur now, and they're still working on it, so they will get it fixed completely at some point. In either case, this is a bug I actually have never seen myself. I guess it's just because I don't usually throw grenades immediately after respawning. But it's something you may want to think about with your gameplay, at least early on in this game's life cycle. Maybe avoid pulling that grenade out immediately after you respawn. After that though, let's talk about what I consider to be the most important aspect. This is netcode. They have mentioned some improvements here. The first thing is they mentioned occasionally after you die, you could still run around in the world for a few seconds. Now when you die, you should stay dead as your opponent intended. And then another key adjustment they made here is they reduced the range between the highest and lowest ping player in matchmaking. So you'll be grouped with players who have a similar ping, and in theory at least, this should make a really big improvement. The discrepancy in ping is often what's most important, not necessarily what your ping is, but it's more so what your ping is relative to other players. And it looks like they've made some tweaks there, so this should end up feeling better. But of course, when it comes to netcode stuff, time will tell. We have to actually get our hands on it and really get some playtime. Like I said, at the time of recording this video, the servers still aren't live yet, so I haven't experienced this for myself. I'll be sure to keep you guys updated as time goes on when it comes to the netcode and my experience with it. But it looks like they have at least made some improvements from the previous test, which is good because it was pretty rough, especially early on in that last test. As for the next section, this is audio, and they first off fixed the voiceover lines playing at the beginning of every match and when you died. And this one was pretty annoying. I just totally turned off the voice lines at one point because it was just constantly repeating the same things over and over again. That has apparently been fixed now. And then on top of that, they just mentioned audio improvements many. So it seems like they've just been reworking a lot of the audio and making adjustments, but they didn't specify every single little change they made. So again, this is just an area where we're gonna have to wait and see, or I guess hear how everything sounds. Next up in these notes, we have a social section, and this one appears to be 100% related to Xbox players. But for Xbox players, they'll now see their Xbox friends list as their primary friends list in game. They also fixed an Xbox specific issue where if you suspended the game and then accessed the in-game social menu and it selected invite to party, then Ubisoft Connect wouldn't open properly. And then finally, they fixed an issue on Xbox where you got an error message when trying to join a full party. Certain UI elements would just disappear if you tried to do that. All of these bugs have apparently been resolved. Next, there was a UI bug when it came to accessing Ubisoft Connect. The text wouldn't be localized for any non-English language, so it would only display English. This should now be fixed for you as well. And then finally, from their notes, we just have a miscellaneous section here. The first thing is they fixed the crash that would occur when accessing the loadout menu tab. That's one that I personally didn't experience, but I did see a lot of people posting clips of them crashing when trying to do that. They also updated the word list in the chat language filter. And then finally, and very important to me, they fixed the issue with misaligned heads-up display elements on PlayStation 5, and you're seeing that in the background right now. I know a lot of people have been asking, why did you set your safe zone so low? That was actually a bug in the last session on PlayStation. No matter what you set your safe zone to, it would all be like at the minimum setting, so all the HUD elements were like pushed right toward the center of the screen. That has been fixed as well for launch. And with that, that is pretty much it as far as everything they mentioned in these patch notes. One thing I was slightly surprised to see is there were apparently no balancing changes at all. Either that or they just didn't mention them in these notes and it was primarily focused on the technical side of things. But as far as we can see, there was no weapon balancing, there was no ability balancing, nothing like that. And I guess that does make sense since the last test was all about the technical side of things. They were mainly wanting to test out the new netcode that they were working on. So I don't think they were really focused too much on collecting data as far as balancing things. And to be honest, I don't really recall any super glaring balancing issues from the last test. It was mainly just bugs and netcode issues. So I think it is fine for them to at least launch in that same state balance-wise. And then obviously, I'm sure they'll be monitoring things over time and making adjustments as needed going forward. In either case, it is nice to see they've been taking care of a lot of the bugs, apparently been working on the netcode. I'm excited to see how that ends up panning out once we actually get our hands on it. And I can't wait to just dive in today and experience this for myself. It's definitely been a really long time coming. I know this game was supposed to launch last summer, but at least it's finally here, and this is where I want to hear from you guys in those comments down below. Based on the patch notes, how are you guys feeling about the adjustments and fixes that they've made since the previous test? And then on top of that, for those of you guys that have been playing the game so far by the time this video goes out, how are things feeling for you, especially netcode-wise? I'm really curious to know, are things feeling any better netcode-wise compared to the previous test? Or are you having any issues with it? Just let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.